Hello, good to feel you here with me today, and glad that we can all be together in this moment. So, coming here because there has been a lot of information coming in about some essential things about these moments, and this is the first time that I will be reading off notes because there's so much information and I want to make sure that I don't skip anything. But first and foremost, I really want to send prayers and support for those who have been affected by that massive flash flood that happened yesterday morning in Nepal. And they say that it was potentially a glacier that had broken off, and it kind of set off in that type of way. And and I've been really feeling everyone who has been affected by that. So and I've been feeling a bit emotional the last couple of days with this. So, okay, so a couple of things. I'm just going to start off before I read off what I've jotted down here in the notes, is that there's an asking. We're being called to focus on our sovereign nature, to be as centered and grounded as possible within our bodies, and to be as inert as possible. And this has to do with the electrical aspects of our beings as well as this magnetism. And there's a lot of wisdom that's been coming from the bees and also the butterflies. And so this is an opportunity to be diligent in our practice, because as we are being mindful as to how we are interacting in a space of neutrality with the world and with our introspective processes, this is going to make a really big difference in these times to come. Okay, so first there is this kind of analogy of welding. So when welding is taking place, and say we are able to visualize this as the earth, and all of us doing our parts, as we hone in our practice, whatever may happen on a global scale, this welding process, when you're welding, there's this arc of electricity, and then this gas that is simultaneously being kind of blown out or released. So when you are placing your intention on what you are building, what you are creating, this inert gas, say argon. So Argon has an ability to choose not to interact with any chaotic elements. So it's used for the welding process. So when these sparks of light are happening, so on a global scale, that could be different types of intensities, perhaps politically, and with leadership, especially with our structures, there are so many things that are shifting. And so, so I'll read. It protects metal during weld, so it forms a shielding. So this is a call to kind of become like argon. So argon blocks air from liquid metal and like molten iron. So iron in our blood, the hemoglobin is sacred like the Celtic knot. And I'll show a photo of this, which I find so beautiful. Let's see. Okay, so this is what it looks like. So hemoglobin, and that's polypeptide in the middle. And yeah, it's very much like the Celtic knot. And so it prevents oxidation on hot metal, prevents nitrogen from mixing, and stabilizes the arc. It refuses to bond and react. And when we can imagine ourselves in community with each other all over this earth, and being able to picture this lattice, like this grid around the world, and forming the ability to be like a AED, which is, when the heart has this irregular heartbeat, or it has almost stopped. So like an AED, the electric shocks to reset the chaos system back to a regular beat. So gridwork, nodal point connections. It rebuilds nerve connections, neuroplasticity, chemical reset, and circuit regulation. And also, on our earth, we have a lot of ancient trauma and memories. And there is this thing called spasticity, physical spasticity, which is related to war trauma. So blast-induced traumatic brain injury from combat. So this is structural brain spinal trauma leading to spasticity, which disrupts brain signals and uncontrolled muscle overactivity. And there's tight muscles, loss of fine motor control, difficulty sleeping. And of course, those who have been in combat, PTSD and extreme stress can reside in the physical form. And all of this is a functional neurological disorder. And so when there are situations that meet us, may trigger these type of responses. And so if anything like that were to happen, then we have the ability to hold space, just like the Argon element in the periodic chart. We are able to hold space and, instead of reacting, take a step back and be able to observe the situation and remain in a uplifted heart space, kind of again back to that AED, where we are steadying our functionality in our everyday. Yes. There is something called hypoxia. So when we are, and this is oxygen deprivation, and part of this could be, so with PTSD, with trauma, with extreme stress, sometimes there is this shallow breathing that happens, and we aren't really able to regulate our system as efficiently as we can. And so these moments, we have this ability to perhaps do some breath work, whether this is as a meditation practice, or if this is just being more intentional as to these long, deep, nourishing breaths as we go through these coming days. Help regulate the system, help bring all aspects of our bodies into alignment. So hypoxia stresses the brain and nervous system, significantly increasing negative moods, frustration, and emotional reactivity. And some of these causes can be heart issues that slow blood flow, could be from low red blood cells, or poisons that restrict cell oxygen usage. And I feel this can be both literal or metaphorical. It could be impacted by aspects that are affecting our subtle bodies, our energy bodies. And so big importance right now for the foods that we're eating, the iron, and being able to be really mindful as possible when we are nourishing our bodies, connecting with the foods that we are taking in these moments. Okay. Another thing that I have found really fascinating, started reading and learning about it last year, is about mitochondrial DNA, and the abbreviation is mtDNA. And this mtDNA, this mitochondrial DNA, is the small circular genetic code found inside the energy-making structures, which is the mitochondria, of eukaryotic cells. This type of DNA is exclusively passed down from the maternal line. Any changes are very slow and rare, leading ones to trace ancient human migration paths. So there is this huge focus as to this divine feminine within each of us, this ancient interconnection that we share, and especially just as I was just sharing there, that any changes are slow and rare. So just kind of like simmering a stew or something like that, there's this level of remembrance that is able to be felt in our bodies as we take a moment and tune in. And so, yeah, so this is another thing. Okay. Any conditions, errors, changes linked to this may affect high energy organs and systems. So this is in the mitochondrial DNA. So this high energy organs and systems, which is characterized as our brain, nerves, muscles, and heart. And again, this with divine feminine, there is this this relationship to the astrological sign of Cancer, which is the home. And so this is remembrance of home with God, with spirit, with source, with our creator. And our connections, also this remembrance in these sacred waters of the womb. And so both has this opportunity to remind us of so many connections, electrical connections that are within these organs that we can, help regulate as we make this prayerful movement. And sorry, just for a moment, I was just seeing all these different organs. So, and another thing that kind of came in, it felt a bit unexpected, but it has to do with Arginine, the amino acid Arginine, which is really beneficial to our cardiovascular system. And one food that is very symbolic to the divine feminine and holds ancient lineage, at least 6,000 years, is the watermelon. And the watermelon is representative again of the divine feminine because of the shape is like a womb, and it was part of culture and civilizations of ancient Egypt, Israel, Asia, Europe, so all over, and providing nutritional support and also supporting genetic remembrance within the mitochondrial DNA. And part of this is because of the environmental conditions at those times impressing upon the genetic line. And yes, inside the watermelon, it is about 90% of water remembrance, and as many of you probably know, that water holds the memory of everything, and 90% of watery remembrance and messaging. It's really beautiful to be able to both attune and receive this arginine that supports our circulatory system, which includes the heart, of course, and all these pathways, our veins and things. And let's see. And this I found online. It was sharing about how arginine thrives on connection and transformation, constantly changing form to fuel, nitric oxide production, and heal the body. It is a social worker and heavy builder. It links with others to construct tissues, clear toxic waste from body, and expand blood pathways. It widens blood vessels, supports cardiovascular health and circulation. It assists liver in detoxification, which is, I feel, so important because in Chinese medicine, Eastern medicine, the liver holds a lot of different emotions, and in way of, in terms of global leadership and structures and this push and pull and things, there can be this elaboration of anger, frustration, and that is one of the emotions that can be held in the liver. So this detoxification, as we do this, we are able to help transmute for those on this earth. And it also, arginine is helpful for wound healing and immune defense. And a lot of this, again, just as a reminder, a lot of this that I know it's a lot of information, but it's basically this, these aspects to keep in mind. It's almost like like an index of, or a recipe. So these are ingredients. Okay. And let's see. So there is the gene keys. And so if you're not too familiar with the gene keys, these are really sacred keys that were brought forth by this beloved soul, Richard Rudd, and the gene key that is associated with arginine is gene key 21, which is Valor, a noble life. And it is part of a codon ring of humanity, and that is related to the lungs. And it is a channel of sustenance, and its programming partner is gene key 48, which is wisdom. And this gene key in particular, this 48 of wisdom, is cardinal fire, and it resonates with Aries. I am. And yeah, so with the gene keys, it is these this attunement into what your genes hold in this incarnation, how your composition is able to bring forth the highest expression in this incarnation. So Richard Rudd has compiled this beautiful body of work to support so many souls to yeah to expand our field of awareness and elevate consciousness. And so thank you, dear Richard Rudd. And I'd love to read what he wrote for Gene Key 21. And I believe this is the city. Okay, but either way, I will read. So, the sacred wound at the heart of humanity and the reason for all of our suffering can be unlocked by the gene keys that make up the ring of humanity. As one of the most complex codon groups, each of the 6 gene keys in this group represents an archetypal aspect of the human story, together encapsulating all the mythic elements of what it means to be a human being. Wounded from the outset, you must do battle with your shadows, overcome the limitations of your mind, surrender your need to control life, and find your true self before you can awaken. You can see from this very profound grouping how deeply bonded we humans are by the same basic dramas. Many of the gene keys in this codon group concern love and the human capacity to trust in the authority of the heart. The very blueprint of our human destiny and the future evolution of humankind lie coiled within this ring, along with the 6 essential human attributes truly natural and inherent to our species. Yeah, very beautiful. I realized this about the gene key after this information was coming in about this practice for these coming times. So I had written down about increase electrical field, such as the bioelectricity, which is the current patterns across our cell membranes. We coordinate cell communication, guide embryonic growth, direct wound healing, and suppress tumor formation. Voltage shifts reports cell health and triggers group decisions. This leads to cancer suppression, boosts pollination rates, and balances aquatic food webs. And so this is part of the wisdom that had been imparted by the bees and the butterflies. Last week, a little over a week ago, I had a really long meeting with a butterfly, about 30 minutes. And I have some notes about our meeting. Let's see. So they shared that, and they use some words that are not in our human language. So I'm going to share these words as far as frequency, and I trust that your heart will understand what this means, because it's so pure. I don't want to translate it. I understand how I can feel this, and because there's so many subtle layers with these beings, I would love for you to be able to receive it in the way, your unique way. So they shared that our starlight is truyunating. Sorry, our starlight is truyunating into special pathways now. Evolution is currently in the way of elosian. And I asked if there was any special thing for us to pay attention to at this moment. And it shared to look closely at the energy signatures coming from the earth at this time for the weaving. Like finely webbed membranes of light. And it showed it to me kind of like bubbles kind of lifting off the earth. It was so beautiful and shimmering and soft. And I had asked if there was anything that they'd like to share about what this may sound like, as far as so what this beautiful being shared was about how they, as well as all the winged beings, that at this moment, as they are flying through the air, there is something really beautiful and unique happening with their hands, their feet. They have this ability to kind of dance upon these harmonics between heaven and earth, and they're doing something really special with that. And I had asked if it was able to share what this sounds like, as in if it were to be an audio clip. And it sounded really soft, but a little bit like kind of like a video game. And she immediately responded, yes, exactly. It is exactly like that. There is a purpose and knowing within our movement, yet the playfulness at this time, our people, the winged ones, and those of the air are dancing, touching very intentionally with our landings on these waves of light between heaven and earth. Actually, these nodal points, as they carry into the winds and imbuing the new resonant structures. Yes. And she mentioned that the joy is vitally important. And that point to point, the space leaves an opportunity for this potent bridge to be woven. That was so beautiful. And yeah, such an honor. And another thing about the bees, I learned about this, I want to say maybe it was a little earlier this year, and then I kind of looked at it a month or two ago, was about how bees are able to see electrical fields and of flowers. And it's just so beautiful. About, I think it was a couple weeks ago, there was a there was a butterfly as well, but there was a bee that landed right on my eye. And yeah, and it stayed with me for some time. And yeah, similarly, there's something about this electricity that we are able to build and cultivate in a really beneficial way. And also, as we do this, there is this this ability to create a bit of static electricity. And so what happens when bees are flying through the air near the flowers is that a little itch. Okay, so the bees actually don't need to necessarily land on the flowers to get the pollen. The pollen will actually gravitate towards the bee, which is so magical. So I share this because as to how we can be really disciplined in our practice to clear our fields, whichever practice that you may feel attuned with to do this is beautiful. And so as we're doing this, we are able to form a kind of a form of stabilization. And this may go without saying, but I'm just sharing it in this way. So with all these different components that I was sharing, in this little video about purifying and also building our blood, the sacred intention that we have with our nourishment of our physical bodies at this time, which will also be nourishing and fortifying our physical beings, which lends itself to support our spirit as well. And so I think that's what I'd like to share today. And I keep thinking of you guys and keep everyone in prayers for these moments, and as we do these practices, to be diligent on a daily basis. And one of the things that can be helpful to remember is that to build a pattern, just like on a spreadsheet, typically you will need three repeating prayerful acts to create a pattern. So if there is a prayerful practice that you would love to initiate at this time, I implore you to bring it into yourself, to be able to at least do those first three, to be able to build that energy within your body with that intention that this continues forward, and that each breath, each movement is something you're intending, but also remembering that at the root of this, that this is what you came here for, to be of service. Because as we are engaging in this this discipline, you are of service to everyone, every being, every beautiful soul on this planet and in this cosmos. This does not exclude anyone, any being. This is a prayerful compilation for all. And and with that, I pray that all beings find their way home to God, to Spirit, to Source, to our beloved Creator, that we resound the harmonics of peace and togetherness. May we come into greater compassion for each other. May any misunderstandings be alighted by the wisdom and true seeing that God gives to us in each and every moment. May each one remember the source of love that they are. In every single aspect of their beingness. May they remember, may we remember as we are one and the same. Any stretching, any chasing, may they understand that we are all, again, one of the same emanation. May we remain clear in our integrity, in our hope, in our care. May those who are amidst in difficult moments be cared for in the most expanded of ways. May the beauty of divine essence be imparted to all hearts. These wise portals of remembrance.